Hey everyone, let's talk about easy tech skills in 2025 that will make you more efficient, more employable, and get you some more money, and without going back to school. So the first skill I'm going to talk about is no code development. So there's applications right now, such as Webflow, that allow you to build applications, websites, without actually having to code. And that's a big thing, right? You don't actually have to have the skill sets of learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript, all of that. You can actually just build a beautiful website without coding. And companies are hiring people to do that for them. Companies love these low code or no code development sites that bring up websites, applications, and they love it because it saves them time. So you can do freelance with this. You can actually just look for a job that hires or looks for these type of skill sets. But having the ability to bring up a whole application, a whole website without having to code or having minimal coding experience is a good tech skill to have in 2025. So if you're one of those people who are like, I'm not learning to code, I don't want to code, learn how to use one of these tools that allow you to build these applications, build these websites with very minimal amount of coding or no coding at all. One weekend and you have a full app, full website up and ready. So this next skill goes with AI because we know AI is everywhere. Now listen, I use ChatGPT, Gemini, I use it every single day. I don't think there's a day that goes by, even when I'm not working, that I'm not putting something into ChatGPT because it makes my life easier. So companies are actually hiring people who know how to do prompt engineering. Now this is new. I didn't even know about this before. AI is only as smart as the prompts that you give it. So in simple terms, in order to get the most out of AI, in order to get the most out of ChatGPT, Gemini, you can see that you need to ask it the right questions. You need to prompt it properly with detailed prompts in order to get the best out of it. Prompt engineering allows you to get ChatGPT, Gemini, all these AI tools to help you become 80% more efficient by feeding it proper prompts. And that's a whole career. Prompt engineering. Prompt engineering helps AI models to produce more accurate, relevant, and useful responses to you. So if you're looking for a new skill set, add prompt engineering to that list. So this next one is probably my favorite, and it's probably because I'm biased. At this point, I don't think it's possible to find a job description in the tech engineering field, IT field, that does not have Microsoft Azure, AWS, or Google Cloud services in the description. Cloud computing is so important. And it's actually not even that hard. I wish people understood that it's really not that hard. So let's use AWS as an example. AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft, they all have so many certification options. I don't have any certs, but I will talk about it in a different video on why I personally don't take certs. But if you are trying to get into the IT tech field, getting some form of basic cert, honestly, is a really good way to start. And every company uses the cloud at this point. And if they don't, they're going to. So picking one and sticking with one. And I would say sticking with one because like I said, there's Google, there's Amazon, and there's Microsoft. But within those specific companies that offer these cloud computing services, each company has so many different services. I use AWS every single day. And I still don't even know all the services that they provide. They provide so many different services. So I would say to actually just to get to know one and get comfortable with one, understanding the different services they provide, actually knowing how to use them within your field, within your role. But I definitely think that getting the skill sets of knowing how to use the cloud, knowing how to use the different services the cloud provides can increase your salary, can help you get into the door of whatever company you're trying to get into. It's a very high in demand skills like cloud architecture, cloud computing. I know that they have like the cloud practitioner cert. I don't necessarily know all the list of certs because like I said, I don't personally have any certification. I recommend for people who are trying to get into the field that sometimes certs are the pathway for you to go. If you're more project based, then I would recommend also creating some projects. And people are always like, well, what do you mean when I say create projects? Well, when I say create projects, like for AWS, I would say like, I'm not a database person. So I don't even know exactly, but I know like they have DynamoDB, say if you're a data analytics person. So actually create a project, use CloudFormation to build up a DynamoDB database server, use IMA roles to show IAM rows to show like how one user access certain data information within the database. I'm not a database person at all, so I just made all that up. These are real services, but I don't know if that's how they actually work. But I'm just saying, these are an example of a project that you can speak to if you wanted to showcase your skill sets that you have when it comes to these type of services. But my point is, cloud computing is a very high in demand skill. And I spent a little bit more time on this skill because I'm biased, because I'm in DevOps, and because I use these skills every single day, and I see how in demand they are. And I see also that people have it in theory, but they don't actually know how to use the actual services, if that makes sense. So cloud computing, it's not just for big tech companies. It's literally the backbone of probably almost every single business, because every business has data that needs to be hosted somewhere. Every business has users who need to have certain permissions to have access to that data. So think about it this way. You don't need to be a software engineer, a software developer to get skills in the cloud. You don't need to have that type of coding knowledge to have an understanding of what the cloud is. And the best thing about it is you can start learning with AWS for free. So that is a skill set that you definitely need to add to your list for 2025. So this other one is actually probably my second favorite, which is automation with Python. I think Python is the best language to start learning how to program, script it in. I think it is the best because to me, it is the lowest barrier of entry when it comes to programming. Like if somebody told me that they wanted to be a programmer, I would not say, oh yeah, go learn Java, go learn C. Mind you, I don't know C, no Java, but I don't know C. I feel like if you introduce somebody to programming with something like that, and that's their first introduction, they're gonna say they never want to program again. And I wouldn't even blame them. But if you introduce somebody to something like Python, then they're gonna be like, this makes sense. The reason why Python to me makes sense, and the reason why it's a good introduction is because it's readable. When you read C, when you read C#, all that stuff, it looks like a foreign language. Like, it just doesn't make sense when you read it with plain eyesight, right? But when I'm reading Python, it's like I'm reading something like I can read a book. It's more understandable. And that's because it's a higher level language. It's a higher level programming language. It's not low level. Things in Python aren't as complicated. I think it's a very good introduction to programming. And you can write really simple scripts, very easy, within like the first day of learning how to program with Python. The good thing about Python, like I said, there's a lower barrier of entry, and you can write a lot of automation when it comes with Python. Like you can write tasks that certain things that bore you, that you don't feel like doing manually every single day. It's very easy to write in Python. So in 2025, another skill set that I would add would be learning how to program in Python. So I hope these were helpful for some skills that you can learn in 2025. I will add a list in the description as well of things that you can use to start the learning process, and honestly take it day by day. I'm not saying learn all of these, like to start off with all of these, but pick one, build your momentum. And then soon, after you feel comfortable with it, pick the next one and then continue on. And then that way you have things to add to your resume, you have things to speak about. And I'll talk in a different video about the importance of project-based learning and also having projects to show for interviews, for when you're going to career fairs, having projects to actually speak to. So I hope this was helpful, and remember that tech skills don't have to be hard. Just start learning one today.